Hi, so in video 1313 we talked about this thing. We showed how to convert it into a generator, and that sticking a bit of card in front of it made it a much more powerful generator. In that same video we also developed the idea of a wind wall that would be responsible for world domination. And as part of that heinous plan, what I've got here is 100 PC fans, all the same size. Now, I've got to do exactly the same thing with them, and that is pluck off that little bit of rubber, take off the washer, pop that off, desolder them, resolder them. When you do that once, it's not too hard. When you have to do it 100 times, it's going to take a little bit of patience. But then, so does any form of world domination, doesn't it? So, my next task, open these up and get them all converted. I always find this slightly hilarious, actually. So in one clip you say, oh, hey, I've got to do this. And the next clip, 2 seconds later, you've done it. Bear in mind, this is quite a job, and it took a day to do, okay? But I've got 100 of the rotors there, 100 of the stator bodies, there's the little plugs, there's the little washers, we've got all of the circuit boards right here, and here we've got 100 coils. Now, I've got to solder the wires that I've actually cut off from the previous ones and tinned both ends. I've got to solder them to L1 and L2. Now, remember, they're the ends of the coils. Easy to recognise them. They're going to be the 2 pins with the greatest resistance. So on these, if I connect up between 2 pins, I get 44 ohms. Connect up the other 2 pins, another 44 ohms. Connect up the end pins, you get 88 ohms, because you've got 2 coils. So they're dead easy to recognise. Just take a resistance reading, and then obviously we need to solder one wire onto one end and the other wire onto the other end, and that's what I need to do now. Let's get on with that. There we go, a whole lot of PC fans now turned into generators. So obviously what I want to do now is use these to build our wind wall, which mostly means actually connecting it to a board. And what I've got here is a bit of 18mm plywood. Then I'm going to drill a load of holes in here at 78mm, which is what that is, and screw these onto the back. Obviously they have the hole in it. And I'm going to place those 120mm apart. So I now have to mark up this board and drill a load of holes. There you go, finished. A whole load of PC fans screwed to a bit of plywood. And if I turn this over, what you can see is, there we go, there's a whole load of holes that way that the wind blows through. Now, I can foresee a couple of comments. One of them is going to be, why didn't you make little cones? Now that comment is being made by people who either didn't watch the earlier video or have never made 100 of something, because it's really tedious making so many of one thing. And we found out it didn't really matter much if it was a cone or a flat. So that's one of the reasons why. And the other kind of comment I'm going to get is, why bother? And to that, yeah, why indeed? I was asked to do this. I thought it was absolutely brilliant as an idea, so I've done it. Now what we'll do is stand it upright and see if we can get some wind blowing in it. Doesn't that look awesome? So it's pitch black outside because it's actually 8:30 that I'm doing this. So I've set the wall up and I've got a blower here to simulate the wind, and I'm measuring the wind right at the centre and at this side of the hole there to get an idea of what kind of wind is going through there. And I'm getting a wind speed reading of 4.2 metres per second. Now, these blades are 2 centimetre blade length, so you've got that. You can put it into a HAWT calculator like Omni Calculator, and it will tell you that the expected wind power from that is 49 milliwatts, somewhere around about there. So once you've done that, of course, you've got how much power is going in, and we can measure how much power is coming out. And to do that, I've got a little LED that I've put on there as its load, because we're talking about milliwatts. And if I measure that, I get about 12 milliamps at about 3 volts, 2.8 to 3 volts. Now, I'm not sure if that's right or not, because if you work that out, of course, you're getting somewhere in the region of, what would that be? Don't trust my math, remember, but it's somewhere around about 30 milliwatts, when it's supposed to be around about 49 milliwatts. So on this quick sort of, sample, then actually it does surprisingly well. And I'm kind of not surprised, because the whole wind obviously is being buffeted here. Spinning this, only got one way to go, and that's through there, and then we've got a reduced pressure on the other side. And so this particular wind wall design is looking very promising. It's obvious what the next step is, eh? Take it outside, connect everything up, and remember though, this took a while to do, so connecting everything up would be, is going to take a little bit of time. But the result is surprising, because when you get one of those little fans all by itself, then you'll get microwatts, not milliwatts, microwatts. But when we put in an arrangement like this, remember we did the first one where we used one piece, then we got this huge increase in output, and now of course we've got a wall of them, and it looks like we're getting improvement because we're scaling it, and that does seem to be so. Now, I'm not sure to what degree, and I know what people, or some people, are going to say, how much power, how much it costs, blah 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 blah. But what we're seeing here is an improvement as we scale this up. As we scale this up, these are actually getting better and better at the way they perform. And you have to remember, you buy one of these, it's going to cost you about 80p. So putting them in a wind wall like this seems a very promising way. Now, when I first looked at this, and it was first suggested to me, of course, being somewhat arrogant and smug, I said, yeah, no way, that won't work, really try something else, don't waste your time. And then I suddenly decided to give it a go and see. And of course, giving a go and see, actually the results are somewhat surprising. I mean, it was a hell of a lot more effort than the Savonius wind wall that we built. But those results actually are quite encouraging. So obviously, we've got to connect this thing up and we have to get it into a real wind. But that result was actually quite encouraging and quite interesting. So I thought I would share it with you. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching, and please look out for the other wind wall videos. Oh, and don't forget, like and subscribe.